To effectively materialize the incorporation of generative AI into language education grounded in learning by design, we must set clear objectives and scaffold how learners prompt the AI. We must also encourage reflection. For example, students can ask, how reliable is this output? Why have I chosen this particular structure? What did I learn? How? Why? We also need to tie AI use to personal experiences, starting with the familiar, and when we always need to consider what our students' needs are, both at a personal and academic level. We also must embed ethics in all instructional aspects. We need to discuss authorship, bias, and appropriate use. Responsible design turns AI from novelty into evidence-informed, theoretically grounded pedagogy. A crucial aspect of generative AI-supported language teaching and learning is the development of AI literacy. When we talk about AI literacy, we're really talking about two dimensions, knowledge and skills. Learners need to understand basic terminology. So, for example, what a large language model is, how prompts work, what biases may appear. And they also need guided opportunities to use AI tools meaningfully and safely. Developing literacy isn't about banning or blindly embracing generative AI. It's about moderated, purposeful practice, using these technologies under supervision with space for reflection and discussion. Students should be encouraged to critically assess AI-generated texts, including those integrating images or other meaning forms, asking questions such as, whose perspective is represented here? What's missing? How accurate or ethical is this output? True AI literacy also requires examining ethical implications, not only academic integrity, but also personal, social, cultural, and political dimensions. For example, what happens when the data used to train a model reinforces stereotypes, or when access to AI tools depends on financial privilege? Finally, we need to connect AI use to students' life worlds, to the real communities and contexts in which they live. As educators, our own engagement with generative AI is crucial. We need to model responsible, critical use, and we can only do this when we experiment thoughtfully and reflect openly. So now let's shift our focus to teacher education. Integrating generative AI requires educators who are AI literate, who understand how these tools work, their limitations, their social implications. Professional development should provide hands-on exploration, space for experimentation, and time for reflection in communities of practice. Let's see what this could mean. We believe training modules for educators might include understanding how large language models are built, designing AI-enhanced lessons grounded in learning by design, discussing culturally responsive uses of AI, sharing classroom data and best practices through teacher networks. These are just some ideas. Our goal should be confident, critical, and creative educators. But of course, we also need to continue learning more about the affordances and limitations of generative AI for language teaching and learning. In order to do so, future research should follow classrooms longitudinally to trace AI's real impact. It should compare cross-cultural contexts to see what works where and for whom. It should investigate the incorporation of generative AI in diverse educational contexts, including primary, secondary, and higher education classes. It should examine teacher preparedness and learner motivation. And, importantly, it should investigate ethics and equity. Who gets access? Whose data trains the models? This focus will ensure that innovation stays grounded in equity, inclusion, and social justice. Before we go, let's recap 3 key ideas. Number 1, generative AI is a tool that can allow us to create richer learning experiences for our students, but it is not a substitution for educators. Learning by Design can offer ethical, inclusive foundations and a pedagogical blueprint to incorporate generative AI in language teaching and learning. AI literacy is now part of language literacy, involving knowing how to think and communicate in our new languages with critical machine support in cyber-social meaning making. These ideas redefine what it means to teach languages in the 21st century. Thank you.